Do we truly live in a world where every smile hides a dagger, and every compliment is a veiled insult? This pervasive anxiety, this quiet dread that unseen eyes judge our every move, is a phantom limb of the modern psyche. Carl Jung understood that the deepest anxieties stem not from external threats, but from the unexamined shadows within. To live constantly believing you are the subject of unspoken scorn is to surrender your autonomy to the projections of your own mind, constructing a prison of self. This is not the path to genuine connection or authentic self-expression. It is a profound self-betrayal, a concession to an illusory enemy. This video will not merely alleviate your fears. It will equip you with a profound understanding of the human condition and the mechanisms of perception. We will journey into the core of Jungian thought, dissecting the true nature of judgment and revealing how to reclaim your inner peace. Prepare yourself, for the insights you are about to receive are not just theoretical. They are a transformative blueprint for unburdening your soul and empowering your true self. The principle of the echo chamber of the self asserts that the perceived negativity from others often originates as an amplification of one's own internal criticisms and insecurities. We project our self-doubt onto the world, and then interpret the world's neutral responses, or even its positive ones, as confirmation of our worst fears. This principle functions because the human mind is wired to seek validation for its existing beliefs, even if those beliefs are detrimental. When you harbor a secret belief that you are inherently flawed, unlikable, or unworthy, your unconscious mind will filter interactions to find evidence for this belief, inadvertently creating a distorted reality where everyone seems to be judging you. This internal bias warps the mirror of reality, reflecting only what you fear is true about yourself. This concept connects directly to Jung's notion of the shadow, which is the unconscious aspect of the personality that the conscious ego does not identify in itself. The more we suppress, deny, or refuse to acknowledge our own perceived flaws, weaknesses, or undesirable traits, the more powerfully they manifest as externalized judgments. Consider the historical figure of the Roman general, famed for his strategic brilliance and battlefield victories, who, despite his undeniable successes, constantly suspected betrayal from his most loyal lieutenants and advisors. His relentless paranoia was not a reflection of his men's actual disloyalty or clandestine plots, but rather an echo of his own unspoken doubts about his worthiness to lead. His private fears of being exposed as fallible, or his unconscious belief that his past transgressions would eventually catch up to him. This deep-seated internal conflict, unacknowledged and therefore projected outward, poisoned his relationships, eroded trust, and ultimately led to his isolation and eventual downfall. The true enemy, in this case, was not outside, but resided within his own unexamined psyche. In today's interconnected world, this psychological mechanism manifests acutely in various settings, from the most intimate personal relationships to the broad, often impersonal, landscape of online interactions and professional environments. A subtle glance across a meeting room, an unreturned text message, a delayed email response, or even a lack of likes or comments on a social media post can trigger a cascade of internal narratives. These narratives often include thoughts such as, "They think I'm incompetent, no one cares what I have to say, I'm being silently excluded, or I must have said something wrong." The inherent ambiguity and lack of explicit context in these interactions allow the mind to fill the void with its pre-existing anxieties, leading to pervasive feelings of inadequacy and, at times, self-sabotage in careers and strained relationships. The unstated fear takes root and blossoms into a perceived reality. Therefore, it is crucial to cultivate a robust sense of self-worth that is independent of external validation or perceived social cues. This requires a conscious effort to challenge every negative assumption about how others perceive you. Seek concrete, undeniable evidence before accepting your internal narrative as truth. Do not succumb to the trap of mind reading, which invariably projects your own fears onto others. Instead, practice the courage of direct communication by asking clarifying questions or observing objective, verifiable behavior. The aim is to dismantle the internal echo chamber and replace its distortions with a clearer, more objective perception of reality. The law of the unconscious mirror reveals that what we often perceive as hatred, secret judgment, or subtle disdain from others is frequently an unconscious reflection of their own internal struggles, unresolved conflicts, or projected insecurities. People rarely dedicate significant mental energy to disliking you in secret or actively plotting your emotional downfall, unless you pose a direct threat to their livelihood, genuinely offend their core values, or have explicitly wronged them in a significant way. More often than not, they are too preoccupied with their own complex inner worlds, their own challenges, aspirations, and insecurities, to devote substantial psychic energy to your perceived flaws. This law operates because the human psyche, in its incessant attempt to process complex, often uncomfortable emotions and personal inadequacies, frequently externalizes them onto others. It serves as a potent defense mechanism, a convenient way to avoid confronting uncomfortable truths or acknowledging undesirable aspects about oneself. Recall the story of the medieval courtier, a master of political maneuvering, yet consumed by an almost pathological envy for a rival's burgeoning success and influence at court. He saw malice, cunning, and deliberate attempts at sabotage in every one of his rival's actions, convinced that the rival was actively plotting his downfall and social ruin. In truth, the rival was simply pursuing his own legitimate ambitions, navigating the intricate web of court politics with his own unique set of skills and intentions, entirely oblivious to the courtier's intense fixation. The courtier's perception, however, was entirely colored by his own deep-seated jealousy, his pervasive fear of inadequacy, and his unacknowledged ambition. This historical parallel highlights a timeless and enduring truth: the hatred, judgment, or ill will we perceive in others often reveals significantly more about the observer and their own internal state than it does about the observed. The lesson for the modern world is undeniably clear. When faced with what appears to be veiled negativity or subtle animosity, first engage in a rigorous examination of your own emotional landscape and psychological projections. This phenomenon is remarkably rampant in contemporary social dynamics, from intense workplace rivalries and competitive academic environments to the nuanced disagreements within family units. An individual, steeped in their own insecurities, might interpret a colleague's ambition as a personal attack designed to undermine them, or a family member's differing opinion on a trivial matter as a deliberate slight or a sign of personal disrespect. In reality, the colleague is simply focused on advancing their own career, driven by their own aspirations, and the family member genuinely holds a different, yet equally valid, viewpoint. The perceived negativity is often a projection of one's own competitive fears or unresolved conflicts. The advice here is twofold and deeply transformative. Practice radical empathy by consciously attempting to consider the other person's internal world, their motivations, and their current emotional state, recognizing that their actions are usually about them, not about you. Secondly, steadfastly refuse to internalize criticism or perceived negativity that is not explicitly and constructively offered. Do not take someone's unexpressed internal struggles, their bad moods, or their personal biases as a direct and personal affront to you. If you're enjoying this perspective and feel that this message resonates with you, subscribe to the channel and enable notifications so you don't miss any content that will further empower you. If you feel a growing restlessness, a deep-seated need to break free from old expectations, restrictive societal norms, and the endless quest for external validation, and instead wish to build a life guided solely by your own intrinsic truth, know that this quest is not in vain. It's your authentic self preparing for the profound freedom, genuine fulfillment, and unshakable peace that await you. There are powerful principles and practical techniques that can illuminate this path of autonomy and self-affirmation, empowering you to live with an unshakable clarity and peace. In the pinned comment, we have made available resources that were carefully crafted for souls like yours, ready to ignite and lead their most powerful personal revolution. Until now, we have uncovered the fundamental principles that govern our perceptions of external judgment and the mechanisms by which we often inadvertently construct our own psychic prisons. You've learned to recognize the insidious echo chamber of self-doubt and the revealing truth of the unconscious mirror of projected insecurities. But this is merely the groundwork, the essential preparation for true liberation and authentic self. Now, we delve into the more advanced tactics, the subtle yet profoundly potent strategies for dissolving the illusion of secret hatred and cultivating an unshakable inner calm that withstands the external world. These next insights are not for the faint of heart. They require a courageous introspection, a willingness to confront long-held beliefs, and a commitment to radical self-honesty. The doctrine of the empty canvas teaches us that in the absence of explicit, clear, and unambiguous information, the human mind tends to project its own pre-existing narratives, biases, and anxieties onto others. When someone does not offer clear signs of approval or disapproval, when their communication is ambiguous or their presence is neutral, our internal fears and insecurities rush in to fill that void, often painting a picture of negativity, disinterest, or even contempt. This doctrine functions because the brain, in its constant drive to make sense of the world, abhors a vacuum of information. It prefers to create a coherent narrative, even if it's a flawed, self-defeating one, rather than exist in uncomfortable uncertainty. This mental tendency can inadvertently lead to self-fulfilling prophecies, where our unfounded assumption of dislike or disinterest leads us to act in ways that inadvertently push others away, thus proving our initial erroneous belief. Consider the solitary philosopher of the ancient world, deeply immersed in his groundbreaking yet unconventional ideas, who became convinced that his peers and fellow scholars silently derided his theories, viewing them as heretical or utterly nonsensical. Consumed by this unspoken fear, he progressively withdrew into himself, becoming increasingly reclusive and refusing to share his most profound insights or engage in intellectual discourse. His eventual isolation was not a result of his peers' actual judgment or condemnation, but entirely of his own projection onto their silence, which he interpreted as scorn, dismissal, or intellectual superiority. Had he chosen to courageously engage, to voice his thoughts despite his fears, he might have found genuine curiosity, intellectual debate, or even profound admiration. The contemporary application of this doctrine is strikingly clear. In online communication, where context, tone, and body language are often stripped away, the absence of an immediate response, the omission of an emoji or a brief, unembellished message can be catastrophically misinterpreted as disinterest, annoyance, or even active animosity. The liberating advice here is to actively and consciously seek clarity instead of passively suffering under perceived slights. Consciously choose to assume positive intent until concrete, undeniable evidence proves otherwise, and actively offer genuine, open engagement to elicit genuine and clear responses from others. The strategy of the unseen audience suggests that our most debilitating self-consciousness often stems from an exaggerated, almost delusional sense of being constantly observed, meticulously scrutinized, and silently judged by others. This phenomenon has been immensely amplified by the pervasive, often performative, gaze of social media, where every action can feel like it's being evaluated. We imagine an omnipresent audience of silent critics, poised to condemn our every misstep, even when no such audience exists in reality. This strategy's immense power lies in its ability to paralyze action, to stifle authentic expression, and to foster an incapacitating fear of vulnerability. The innate human desire for acceptance and belonging, when unbridled, can become a psychological cage, relentlessly overshadowing the essential need for genuine self-expression and creative exploration. Think of the aspiring artist in the Italian Renaissance, a prodigious talent brimming with innovative techniques and daring visions, who, despite his immense skill, was paralyzed by the fear of the unspoken criticism and condescension of rival masters and established patrons, convinced that his unconventional style would be ridiculed or dismissed. He never dared to exhibit his most groundbreaking works publicly. He painted in secret, his immense genius and revolutionary ideas confined by an imagined jury of peers who, in reality, were likely to preoccupied with their own creative struggles, ambitions, and rivalries to meticulously scrutinize his every brushstroke. His fear of an unseen audience robbed the world of his unique artistic vision and left him in an agonizing cycle of self-doubt. Today, this psychological pattern manifests when individuals hesitate to post authentic, unfiltered content online, fear voicing unpopular or dissenting opinions in public forums, or shy away from pursuing unconventional career paths, all due to an imagined chorus of critics, an internalized audience of disapproving eyes. The liberating advice, therefore, is profoundly transformative. Consciously disengage from the illusion of constant surveillance and ubiquitous judgment. Recognize that most people are overwhelmingly too focused on their own lives, their own problems, and their own aspirations to meticulously scrutinize or secretly hate yours. Embrace radical authenticity, understanding that true freedom, genuine peace, and unshakable self-esteem come from living without the constant, debilitating burden of an imagined audience and their silent condemnation. We have traversed the complex and often treacherous terrain of human perception. From the self-imposed prisons of internal criticism to the subtle yet profound art of navigating external judgment. We began by recognizing that the phantom of secret hatred is often not an external reality, but a powerful reflection of our own unexamined anxieties and unconscious projections. We then explored how the echo chamber of the self amplifies and validates our internal doubts, how the unconscious mirror reveals more about the projector than the projected, how the doctrine of the empty canvas allows our anxieties to fill the void of silence, and finally, how the strategy of the unseen audience can shackle our authentic expression. Together, These interconnected insights form a comprehensive and deeply empowering system for dismantling the illusion of secret hatred and reclaiming your intrinsic inner peace and sovereignty. This profound knowledge, once assimilated, is like a finely honed double-edged sword. It grants you the extraordinary power to see through the pervasive illusions that bind you, to understand the subtle and often hidden machinations of the human psyche, both your own and those around you. Use it to build an unshakable resilience, to foster genuine, authentic connections rooted in trust, and to navigate the inherent complexities of life with unparalleled clarity, discerning insight, and unwavering self-possession. However, never wield this knowledge to manipulate, to deceive, to sow discord, or to assume a tyrannical grip over others' perceptions or emotions. The choice, as always, rests solely within your capable hands. Embrace this power, but temper it with profound wisdom, unwavering discernment, and compassionate understanding, for true mastery lies not in external control, but in deep self-knowledge and ethically informed action. The pervasive, often crippling belief that others secretly harbor ill will, judgment, or contempt towards you is a silent burden that weighs heavily on the soul. Yet it is a burden largely, if not entirely, constructed from within. By understanding the intricate, often deceptive dance between our internal world of thoughts and emotions and our interpretation of external reality, we can systematically dismantle these self-imposed prisons of anxiety and fear. It is not about eradicating all judgment, for that is an inherent and unavoidable part of human interaction and social dynamics, but rather about rigorously discerning real, constructive criticism from unfounded, projected fear, and crucially, choosing not to let the latter dictate your existence, define your worth, or constrain your authentic expression. This transformative journey inward, rigorously guided by profound Jungian principles, liberates you to live authentically, unburdened by the phantom gaze of secret hatred, and to embrace a life of genuine freedom and self-acceptance. In the comments below, share which of these powerful insights resonated most deeply with your own experience and how you plan to apply it to navigate your perceptions of others in the future. If this profound journey into the depths of psychological truth and self-mastery resonates with your spirit, subscribe to the channel to continue unraveling the intricate secrets of the human psyche and unlocking your fullest potential. Your enthusiastic like is a vital and encouraging signal that this knowledge holds transformative value and meaning for you.